Bishop Michael Olson, who has taken time out of his very busy schedule to be with his spiritual daughters. And I have a very big biography to read, and I do know that he earned his doctorate in moral theology, and this is Italian, so forgive me, Accademia Alfonsiana in Rome, and I will let the rest go and just tell you, please welcome Bishop Olson.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. We'll save the rest for the obituary. So I'm very happy to be here with you today, and I was very pleased to accept the invitation to come and just speak with you today as your bishop on just several cursory matters that I think are important. You've probably already covered extensively today. I want to begin with a story. The story takes place at World Youth Day in Poland in 2015, I think it was. And I was there, I think it was 2015, 2016. I was there with the diocese and with our youth, and there was sort of a downtime where we had some free time. So I met up with a priest friend of mine from another part of the country, and we went for coffee. On our way from coffee, we went to a tram stop, waiting for the tram to come to take us to where we needed to go. So we were sitting there, and we're talking, and across the street is another tram station for tram to go the other way. Well, sitting there at the stop is a woman, and she has with her 3 children. An 11-year-old, I would guess, little boy, and a 5-year-old, another little boy, and an infant who she was holding in her arms, which I would guess to be a girl, given the bow in her hair. And so she was sitting there kind of rocking the infant, sort of cooing and, keeping her quiet. Well, the little boy was kneeling by her with what appeared to be a piece of paper on the bench, and he was drawing on it very intensely. And then the 11-year-old, thereabouts, was there looking and proceeded every once in a while to knock the paper, right? To knock the arm. To which the little boy, the 5-year-old, looked up at him, looked at his mother, and began to yell and cry. I must say, as an older brother, I think with a good deal of overkill, if you ask me. To which the mother looked up and nodded to the older boy and said, "Stand over there." And he went and stood over there. Then the 5-year-old kind of looked at his mother, then looked at his brother, who was standing in the corner, so to speak, and said, what I could translate roughly in Polish, "Na na 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 na." To which the mother kind of just said, pointed at the paper and said, "Get to work now." And then proceeded to coo and hold the baby and care for her. When the church teaches, she teaches as a mother. All right, that's how she teaches. She doesn't teach like a college professor. She doesn't teach with specialized expertise. She teaches as a mother with the wisdom that God has given her and the love for all of her children, made her children through baptism. Each of her children at different stages of development, needing to hear the same liberating message of the truth, to enjoy what is beautiful and be encouraged by it, and to be directed ultimately to goodness, which is the unconditional love of God. That is how the church teaches. And in many ways, wives and mothers are entrusted in their vocation to exemplify how the church teaches. We don't use the same tone, the same method, the same explanation, the same pedagogy, for such a big word, fine, with each of our children at each of the different times in their life. And so the formation of Catholics begins in childhood in the domestic church, the experience of family life. And they learn both from father and mother. Two distinct roles and functions and people in the family. I know that in our contemporary world, we use the verb to parent frequently. And I understand why we use that, and just colloquially, in given our situation in our society. But I think it's important for us on a day like this, especially, to remember that these are two distinct forms of being a parent that are inherent to human nature and distinct and complementary, that is, to father and to mother. The role of the mother in transforming a child in what is true and what is beautiful and what is good really is to inculcate them a true sense of belonging to a family, of belonging to the mother as their child, their son or their daughter, a belonging to their father as a son or a daughter, and to belonging to each other as a brother or a sister. And that the mother, in inculcating this sense of belonging, fosters among all members of that family a sense of responsibility, compassion, and kindness by which the family is formed as a whole, not to become introspective and look within only, but to prepare to go into the world to transform it with the gospel. That is the challenging and sacrificial aspect of the vocation of motherhood. That is that one day, even with that sense of belonging into which children have been inculcated, they are going to have to leave and form their own families someday. But that's the mission of motherhood, and it is a sacrificial aspect of love, of maternal love, exemplified, I think, most perfectly by that of the Blessed Virgin Mary at Golgotha. So the importance of that then is, how do we do this, and how are you encouraged to do this in today's world? I'd like to start with Pope Francis, a quote from Pope Francis, which he spoke to us bishops at the World Meeting of Families in 2015 in Philadelphia. And he said, and I think quite rightly, for the church, the family is not first and foremost a cause of concern, but rather the joyous confirmation of God's blessing upon the masterpiece of his creation. Every day, all over the world, the church can rejoice in the Lord's gift of so many families who, even amidst difficult trials, remain faithful to their promises and keep the faith. I would say that the foremost pastoral challenge of our changing times is to move decisively towards recognizing this gift. For all the obstacles we see before us, gratitude and appreciation should prevail over concerns and complaints. The family is the fundamental locus of the covenant between the church and all of God's creation. With that creation which God blessed on the last day with a family. Without the family, not even the church would exist, nor could she be what she is called to be, namely, a sign and instrument of communion with God and of the unity of the entire human race. That is when we, as the family, as members of the family, as human beings, live according to our nature that we know not only through right reason, but also through the gift of faith. Faith that shows us not only the creation of man and woman in the Garden of Eden, but faith even more so that shows the redemption of man and woman through the yes of the Blessed Virgin Mary in Nazareth at the Annunciation, and also the ongoing yes of Jesus Christ in the obedient will of the Father. The new Adam and the new Eve who transform all of us through being instruments and vessels of God's grace, by which we are saved from our own devices, made possible by original sin. Today, our knowing us as knowing our challenges in which we live, we begin with gratitude for the gift of family life, our own family, imperfect as it is, dysfunctional, functional, what have you. It is, and it is a gift. We begin there, and we also begin then subsequently followed by coming to understand that our freedom flows from God's grace, the grace that is the gift of our human nature, that is binary, distinct between male and female, though united in its common human nature. That is not only a biological distinction,